Well, good evening, everybody. Happy New Year, you all.
Happy New Year to everyone. Irene, you've put
Oh,
23 and we're 22.
oh, sorry. Anyway,
Yeah,
good
yeah.
evening, everybody.
Well,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
apologies for the lack of services over New Year, but Jean and I both had colds and goodness knows what else going on, and I had no voice, and Jean couldn't stop coughing
And
like
I
that,
could stop coughing.
as if I'm
Chest
you.
infection,
And
antibiotics.
today, I would like to tell you that we have a very special guest sat backstage who's going to grace us with his presence. Good evening, Reverend Nick.
Reverend Nick with his lovely coloured bedroom.
We
Oh,
can't hear you, sweetheart. You've got no sound.
you're on. You've got no
You
sound there.
mute.
You're mute.
King a moment ago.
That's it.
It means me.
No.
No. Oh,
Well,
technical issues. Good
already.
grief.
Anyway,
Oh
good
no, it
evening,
was
Reverend Nick.
working. A few seconds ago.
Can't hear you.
He's just been
Can't hear
talking
you.
to us.
Hello.
Ah,
Can you hear me
Hello,
now?
there we are.
Yes.
Welcome
Whoa.
to the upgraded Boudoir Del Brown. We are back
Yes,
in the
look, that's
boudoir.
I know. Look at
lights
his
and
boudoir.
everything.
Very sexy.
yes, I know.
It is.
I know.
That's a first, Anne-Marie. That's a first.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that will never. It's only when technology puts a mute on me. I think it's because I went off and then went back on again. It's only when technology kind of like kicks me in the nuts that I end up being lost in the ether. Other
Yeah.
than that, I'm usually a Gabby old what's it.
Can Nick,
Oh,
Nick Brown, where've I got that from?
What is my
Yeah,
name?
Nick
Can
Brown.
you just show everybody your lovely colours in your boudoir?
Yes, let me
and while
Look
you're
at
doing
this.
that, good evening,
activate
Matthew
this.
Stapley, and Happy New Year to
Hang on.
you.
Come
Good
on.
evening,
Down,
Matthew.
everybody.
Everybody, let's just watch this.
Right, here we go. It's now
If you're in the
coming up.
sexy mood.
Let's put it on rainbow style. This is called gorgeous, apparently. So yes, it
look.
will change colour. You see, there's
Wow.
colourful, which is like boo, wow, boom, boom, boom. But there's also one that goes along with any particular audio. It will keep changing with the sound.
Ooh.
It's much better with music, but
Yeah.
it will change with the
Can
word.
I have a disco?
Just tell them what you call your red lights, Reverend Nick.
Oh, you mean my slut red?
That's
Yes, it's slit red.
Love it. Love
Oh,
it. Yep. Party time in Nick's bedroom.
Sorry about that.
Now we're ready.
Well, I
oh
hope
dear.
you all had a lovely, peaceful Christmas and a very happy New Year. I've got to say, we watched the BBC. We saw Ollie Alexander from Years and Years do his little bit of run up to New Year's Eve, and then we went to bed. It was like, I've had enough. Oh, Nick.
Hello, mother.
Yes.
That's me
Already
told.
telling you to behave.
That'll be a first.
Well, yeah. I'm gonna say she's been trying for 43 years and still hasn't succeeded. So you know.
Yeah.
Right, that shouldn't beep anymore. But how is everybody? I know obviously you've all been poorly, and we've been sending out healing from across the ether and across the world. I know everyone has. But are we feeling up for a good night tonight?
Absolutely.
Yes, as long as I don't start coughing.
Always.
If I start coughing, I
Yep.
shall just shut my mic down. But yes.
I mean,
If
what more
you
can
don't
we
manage
ask
to
for, Nick?
mute Jane.
We've got you here,
got me
Nick.
tea.
We've got Tony. We've got Jean. We've got our lovely Matthew on as well. So,
Yes.
and all our lovely
Yeah.
congregation. So, what
What
more
more
could
can we ask for?
Matthew, you know me so well. Well, we had three Queen speeches over here, actually. We had
Yes.
Her
did.
Majesty, obviously. Then we had Tom Daly did a alternative Queen speech.
He
And
did.
then the old Queen below me did
Oh, yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
Less of the old, you bitch.
I did watch
I
your
love
old
it.
git.
I love it.
My grandmother
Oh,
taught
dear.
me a very valuable life lesson, in all seriousness. She always used to say to me, now, the frozen expression was perfect. It was like psychic. My grandmother always told me, you're as young as the man you feel.
Feel
Oh, yeah.
that's true.
So I'm always 4 years younger than I actually am, because he's 4
Oh,
years
right,
younger
there
than
you
me.
go. I'm 18 months younger than I am then.
Well,
There
that's
you
no
go.
good then, because there's only 6 months in me and Stuart. It don't make no difference.
Well, no, that's true.
6 months is
That's
6
true.
months, dear.
I know, but
Oh,
you
well,
don't know, do you?
any
The difference
reductions
between
in
GBH and manslaughter, you know.
You know, when they turn to a walnut
Oh,
whip.
Yeah.
good evening, Reverend Sarah. You're on as well.
Sarah, hello.
Lovely
Yeah.
Reverend Sarah from Brid and Jackie Manley. Oh, we've
I
got
know, and
some
Jackie,
beautiful
welcome.
people. Yes. That's it, Matthew. You've set them on.
Oh dear.
You've
Rude.
set
I
them
think
on.
that's
That's
me.
Oh, what a
Okay.
night.
Right.
Oh,
Anyway,
Can
dear.
I just say
let's get
something,
this.
Reverend Nick? Reverend
Yes.
Nick, you know that I'm
Mhm.
going to be joining you soon and you're learning me some bad habits, aren't you?
Bad habits or realistic habits? Now, in all seriousness, one of the things that I always tell people is that even though we get this, we stay exactly who we are, because
Well,
that person created that ability. So
I can't change
you
love for
bring
anybody, so that's great.
exactly, and that's the point. And you bring with you everything that you bring through your life, and be that I don't know, be that coughing and cagging, be that red lights, be that formaldehyde, you know, anything, you know.
Well, I can't
What you
change,
bring is
sweetheart,
what you
so
bring.
where I am is what
Exactly.
you see
You
and what
should
you
do.
get.
And this
Yeah.
is my point. You know, at the end of the day, if you achieve a position like we achieve, that every aspect of your life has led you to that point. So it's all valid and it's all part of it. So you should never ever change, because at the end of the day, if I tried to be
Can't.
holier than thou, nobody would ever take a blind bit of notice of me, because they'd know it's all a load of baloney.
It is.
You've got to be who you are, and I will never ever change that, and
Change.
nor did you.
Thank you. I'm not
I
changing.
think if
I just thought I'd let you
Here
know
end of the
that.
sermon.
yes,
Quite right. Too.
I think if I tuned in on a Thursday evening and this chap down here was being holier than thou, I think I'd be dialing 999 and saying you need to get to Village Hall because I think he's had a stroke.
He's either well no, that would be completely the opposite.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Certifying.
I would definitely require medical assistance. It's not that I would have had a stroke or anything like that. It's just that the pod people would have cloned me, or
Yeah.
maybe the chip had been activated.
That's it.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. Oh dear.
Let's go with cloning. It sounds better.
Shall
We
we?
can see where this is going to go tonight, don't we?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We're 11 minutes and 20 seconds in, and we still haven't had the opening prayer or anything yet.
And the tone has gone to negative.
Already gone down.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I should change the scheme to the Rainbow Project. It might fit in better.
So which one am I doing tonight? Sorry, it's only Pepsi. I hate to disappoint, but I'm
I've got
stone
black
cold
currants
sober.
tonight. I've got black currants. For a
Orange
It
change.
was vodka
pineapple.
of the night bit bottle, I'll tell you, Nick, with Irene.
It was a vodka ice, actually, and I'd been working all day, and it was Christmas Day, and I'd had enough, and I just wanted to drink. So
Yeah, but
the
out of
vodka ice.
bottle.
Yeah.
Slugging it out the bottle. Yow, lush. Right.
Right,
I'm
come on
going
then.
I'm going to cut an opening prayer.
Yeah.
I'm adamant. I am unanimous on that.
Well, I've just said go on then.
Right. So, Could we all blend our energies together, please, friends? Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, we thank you for allowing us to gather together tonight in your name. We thank you for the upliftment that's already been shared tonight, and we ask that may there be more to come. I ask that the veil be lifted between the realms to allow the guides for Nick, Irene, Jean, and myself to step forward to support and inspire us through this short time. And we promise that everything we do tonight will be done with love, with truth, and honesty in our hearts. And at the end of this evening, we shall hand back to you all that is rightfully yours. Love, with honour and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Our
Amen.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Pam, Poetry Corner.
Yes. Thank you, Reverend Tony. Oh gosh, I'm giving him his proper title tonight. I know that some of you might have heard this one before, but I chose this one because I knew that Reverend Nick was coming on with us. It's the one I've written called Faith. Sometimes, no matter how you try, things don't fall into place, and we ask why. We wonder what is going on, or maybe have we done something wrong? We have to keep our faith alive, even though you have tried and tried to do your best and carry on, even though it's harder when you are alone. Faith can come in many ways, and praying helps you through the days. Knowing your spirit family is by your side, even though they are home, with God they abide. You know you can put your trust in him and the peace and calmness that he brings. Sometimes when life feels rough, he reaches out to you with his gentle touch. Trust and faith is a cornerstone of life, trying to keep out of trouble and strife, to give our Lord all kindness and love as he watches us from his home above. If things are rough, his angels he'll send to give healing, a gentle hand to lend. You don't need to be fearful or afraid. They walk with you day by day. Faith is a strength that comes from within, where all that is good does begin. No matter what your state of mind, to others always be humble and kind. Draw on your faith with trust and love, the love that comes from our Lord up above. Always remember you are never whole without that trust and faith deep within your soul.
That is beautiful. I
Beautiful.
love that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
And I do apologise, Miles. I saw that go up before I started the prayer, and I thought, oh, I must go back to that.
Yeah.
Nothing more needs to be said.
No,
And
absolutely.
I will now invite the Archbishop Reverend Nick to give us a few words, if he may.
I certainly will. Well, thank you, and thank you for having me on. With all the danger and fear that entails, and it is absolutely a wonderful poem. I totally agree, and so
Thank you.
heartfelt too. And you know, it's interesting the flow of things and where it leads to, and what Spirit have to say. And when you were talking earlier, or we were talking earlier about, you know, being ourselves and all that, they mentioned that the title would come up, and I said, well, why? And they said, so that you can tell your Game of Thrones story. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm allowed to do that. And now that one might sound a bit strange. But when you are introduced to people who don't know you, I mean, let's face it, we're a big family here. You all, pretty much everyone on here knows exactly what I'm like, because you'll have heard from these guys if not seen me. And we are, of course, always ourselves. But one of the things that when people, you know, meet you for the first time and they don't know who you are, there's this certain, there's one of two directions that you can go. There's the first one of, ugh, who does he think he is? And in actual fact, I can't, this is how bad it was. I cannot repeat what a comment was made on Facebook about me because I'd been given the title Archbishop. I cannot repeat it. So if I can't repeat it, you know it must have
Wow.
been blinking bad. So there is that side of it. The other side of it is the really kind and polite and friendly one of, oh, so how do I address you? And my answer is always this. You can call me Nick, unless you misbehave, and then you can call me Rev Nick. I don't enforce my title on anyone, apart from when they're being stupid and need reminding that they're not the best person in the universe, because we're all equal. And so I use it sometimes to remind people that they're not the best thing in the universe. But there is a particular word that I'm entitled to have that I refuse to accept. And that is Your Grace. And that is because if you've ever watched Game of Thrones, not a single one who was referred to as Your Grace did very well. They never ended very well at all. So I said, no, if everyone's watched Game of Thrones, that's it, out the window. No, not that one. And yes, you can call me Uncle Nick. You're not alone. Several people call me Uncle Nick, and only 3 of them are blood relatives to do so. When did you get your archbishop? Well, that's an interesting one. I would say the archbishop status was around about a year ago now, I should say. No, about 9 months.
I was going to say it was because several things happened at the same time,
Yes.
and that was the 9th of April when Philip passed away. Everything seemed to kick off
Yes.
all at
Yes.
once. It was a bit
Yes,
like,
it did.
whoa.
Yes. Did you miss it? No, you didn't miss it. I didn't make really a song and dance of it, and I
It
tend not
just
to.
happened.
It just happened, and that was it.
I think
Yeah.
we were in conversation about other stuff that was going on anyway, and just slipped it into conversation that
Yeah.
you'd been given the honour because of how you handled certain situations and things, and yeah.
And this is it. I mean, the job really hasn't changed. Literally, the way things go in the society is Lynn will ring me up and say, this needs sorting, over to you, Nick. And that's how we've always worked, you know, and that's how we've always done things, because it's done very informally, although we recognise that there are certain formalities required in order to achieve certain things, which is exactly the same as faith. See, everyone wondered where this was going. I know, because I did too. But there are certain things that have to be done in order to achieve something, be it ordination, be it a title, be it faith. And faith, when it comes to achieving a faith that is strong and powerful enough to sustain us, and that's the power of faith. It is all about sustaining us. In order to achieve that, you've got to have experienced something quite profound. Now, that can be good, but it can also be negative. The reason being is I thought I had faith. I really did, until 2021. And then I found out just how much faith I'd got. And I'm not saying that to big myself up, because we all think we've got faith, but it's not until, thank you, your faith is tested that you really know how much you've got. It's only in the darkness do you recognize the light. And one of the things that I learned when I was growing up was that sometimes that light at the end of the tunnel is a train heading right for you. So you have to be careful.
Yeah.
But the point is with faith, people often look for explanations and stories to how faith is described. I like to look at the ultimate act of faith. And everybody knows me that I don't often quote scripture very often. I will, but I'm slightly underhand, and I kind of translate it in my head and give the message in a basic, simple, and then say afterwards.
Oh, thank you, Suzanne. That's lovely.
Thank you. Yes, and that's the point. That is the point. You know, faith sustains us. Thank you. Oh dear, they've been naughty tonight because I have to confess, I was watching a TV show before we started, and it's my favourite one, Babylon 5. And the episode that I watched, interestingly enough, was called Passing Through Gethsemane. Now, when people talk about faith and when people talk about having faith, they don't often think of those particularly high up beings being tested. But we are all tested in our own way. We all have our own Gethsemane. And when I say our own Gethsemane, I'm talking about Jesus, Joshua, Yeshua, whatever you want to call him. I'm talking about his test because he was tested. Things could have gone very, very differently because he was in the Garden of Gethsemane and he knew that the guards were going to come for him. And he called out and said, please let this cup pass. In other words, he was saying, I really, really can't take this. I really, really can't do this. Let somebody else do it. Let somebody else be the one. I can't do it. And of course, the cup would not pass and the guards came. But the point was, he could have left the garden. He could have dropped the cup. He could have walked away knowing that, yeah, maybe he'd have been on the run for a bit longer, maybe forever. But he chose to stay. And it's only when we're in that dark moment, it's only when we're in our twilight, that the night begins to roll in and the light begins to lose its effulgence, to grow pale. Waiting for Godot quote there, by the way, for anyone who's interested. And as the twilight kicks in, that's when faith is needed, because you don't need faith when everything's going great. So even Jesus, Yeshua, Josh, he had his difficulties and he had his faith tested. And you know, people often wonder, who understand and know that story, how would they react if they were in that position, if they experienced their Gethsemane? The point is, we all do. It might not be recorded and remembered throughout history for 2,000 years plus. It might not be some wonderfully profound and magical moment in a wonderfully named place that creates such a wonderful image. But we all experience that darkness. We all experience that difficulty. And we all experience those moments when we are stuck in our nighttime, in our twilight, where that light begins to fade. And then we see ahead of us a light. And we start making our way towards it. But we've had help before that. And this is what faith is. And this, to me, is what the faith is. Because when we look ahead of us and only see darkness and only see shadow, we must remember something really, really important. We're the one casting that shadow on our path, because the light is up there behind us. The only way that you can see shadows in front of you as if the light is behind you, giving its backing, pushing you forward until you reach that light in the distance. And so for me, faith is about journeying from light bulb to light bulb, from difficulty to difficulty, from darkness to darkness. Because without those darknesses, we do not appreciate the light. And it's only when the light gets gloomy, it's only when the light starts to fade, do we then recognize how important it is to be surrounded by white light. And I'll say God bless you all and thank you for listening.
Bless you. Nick, that was lovely.
Visual
Thank you,
aids.
everybody.
Visual aids. What can you say?
Yeah,
Before
look at
anyone
that.
worried that I'm getting too
White
far.
light behind you.
I am going to go back to the purple though.
Lots of people just talking about faith and what faith means to them. I used to lose
Absolutely.
faith at times until I realised that the bad things that happen weren't God's work. It's, well, I always say it's
Yeah.
mankind who causes all of the suffering. Like, I think I've shared a story before, and I've forgotten who I was speaking to, but somebody had asked this person about cancer and things, and they said, but no, God doesn't create cancer. God isn't in the cancer or the disease, the situation. God is in how you deal with that situation and how you get the strength. Like you say in your prayers, Nick,
Yes. Yes.
we ask not that you move the mountain, just give us strength to climb, because that's all you
Yeah.
can ask at the end of the day. For me, Tess, one of the lovely ladies that come to the Rainbow Project, we had some really, really deep conversations about religion and faith. And because Tess and her wife Joey came from a Muslim background, they met in a mosque, but now they're a bit sort of lost with their faith because of different things that are going on. So we have some really deep conversations. And Tess always said, Tony, don't take this wrong, but I don't see you as a man of religion. I see you as a pillar of faith. Because where we come from is all accepting and all encompassing. So, like Dave Allen used to say at the end of his shows, may your God go with you. It,
Yes.
it,
Absolutely.
it's very
Yeah.
profound. And it's been really interesting actually working with Jean through the things Jean's doing at the minute, just to revisit my journey and where I came from, and
Yes.
to see where Jean's journey is. It's been really, really good. Really good. I've loved it.
I'm finding it useful.
It
Isn't
will
it?
be,
Visiting
and
back.
it is,
Yeah.
and it's important to know where you've come from to find out where you're going, which is why
Yeah.
it's absolutely great, and it's also absolutely great that you revisit readings from time to time.
Yeah.
I happen to know that particularly profound reading.
Sorry, I just put that up so I wouldn't forget to
Oh yeah,
revisit it.
yes. Let's revisit
Sorry.
that in a second. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you need to know where you've been in order to know where you're going, and rereading a poem is really important because you as you go forward in your life, you will perceive things differently to how you first did. Irene, I'm sure you perceive that poem differently to how you were when you first wrote it. And everyone who hears it will perceive it slightly differently as they progress.
When I first wrote it, excuse me, as Jean and Tony and all the congregation know, when I sit down to write, it comes direct from spirit. No matter what I'm doing, I have to stop what I'm doing, pick up my pen and write. So all the poetry I get comes direct from spirit. It's spirit words that I just try to read out for our beautiful people. When I first wrote it, I was trying to get my head around what they was trying to tell me. The more that I've read it and the more that I've read it out, the more I've come to understand what they're saying to me. And
Yeah.
coming from very religious parents and a sister who is a lay preacher in the Methodist Church, my faith is very deep. But when I lost my parents so close together, I lost my faith for a while. And then we moved here. And to be fair, it took me going. I bless the day that Michael talked me into going to that circle where Jean and Tony and Michael were that night, because out of that, I've met these three wonderful people, and I've met lots of people. And talking to Jean and Tony and talking to yourself sometimes as well, I'm getting that all encompassing faith back again. And it resonates with me now why I am writing the poetry I'm writing. It's a
Yeah.
different target, it's a different tangent to go on. And every time I write, it's always something different, and it's always said in a different way. And this one that Suzanne said about the passage in the Father's house, there are many rooms. There are many rooms. And I think we, like in spiritualism, when we learn to do mediumship, we have these guides that take us from one step of the ladder up to the second, up to the third. And the rooms to me are the same. You go through the rooms because each room, like each step, is a learning curve, whether it be faith, whether it be about God, about religion, or whether it's what I do with my poetry and my writings. It's all a different learning curve. And the more I get into it, the more I'm writing deeper poetry. So that's a good thing for me.
Yeah, and I have to say,
Absolutely.
it shows. It shows, and
Thank
I
you.
know that Tony's really excited and learning more as he gives you your guidance, Jean. What I will say to you is you'll go through the same thing when you start showing other people,
Yeah.
and you will have different answers. Because interestingly enough, when I was first developing as a minister, this was one of my conversation pieces, and my answer is very different now to what it was back then. Cool, what 2012? So well, I'm on my decade year. Come June, I think it's something like the 12th. That it will have been 10 years that Littleport's been running as an NCSS church, and I've been a
Wow.
minister.
Gosh.
So there's sod the BBC centenary celebrations. We've got 10 years of Littleport, for crying out loud. But the point is, there are many explanations to this passage, just like there are many rooms. And that is the beautiful and wonderful thing about that image that was used. In the context of the modern world in which we live, the important understanding is boiled down, and I've got to do this, by a joke. I heard a joke, and it summed up my father's house has many rooms, and I'd like to share it with you. St. Peter stood at the gates of heaven. Everyone who had arrived was queuing up, and he would ask every single person what their religion was. And so they would answer, and he would give them a number. And he'd say, so you're a Christian spiritualist, go to room number 17. Oh, you're a Christian, go to room number 13. Oh, you're a Muslim, go to room number 14. Ah, you're an atheist, go to room number 1. And he was putting everybody, and somebody came up and they said, well, I don't really know. I don't really know what my faith is. And he went, right. And he goes, why are you giving everybody numbers? He says, well, this is how we start you all off. You all go to the same room, depending on what you believe is up here. And you all end up in the same room together. So you all think you were right. And then when we're finished getting you ready, we open up the windows and show you what heaven really, open up the curtains and show you what heaven really looks like. And then you're all allowed out in the common room. But because you don't know what religion you are, go straight to the common room. There is a really important message behind that. And she managed to stay on 7 minutes longer than normal. because it's
She did.
1937.
Yeah.
But the message behind that joke is really actually quite important, because there is an old saying: the closer you get to defining God, the further away you become. So in order to really know what God is, stop pretending you know God. Get to know all of the names and all of the faces of God in order to understand the true meaning and purpose and identity of the being behind all of those names and faces. And I think
Yeah.
that is very much my view now, from what I've learned over this last 10 years, of what the many rooms are, one aspect of it. And I have to stipulate that one aspect of the many. Every single faith and every religion has a room in the world of spirit, in the Father's mansion.
Yeah.
But eventually we all end up in the dining room, in the common room, out in the garden, together, without our separation and without our differences. But we need to have our own room to begin with in order to get used to the idea that not only were we right, but we were also wrong. And to finally finish what I've got to say, quoting a Babylon 5 thing again, it's Babylon 5 night, I'm sorry. There was this man who came to the space station in order to learn all of the names of God. He said, it says in the Bible that God can hear even the tiniest sparrow fall from the sky. So why then would he ignore whole groups of people? The truth is, he wouldn't. He would reveal himself in other ways, with other names and with other faces. My mission, and this is my mission too, is to know and understand all of those names and all of those faces in order to better understand the being that's behind them all.
Can
Perfect.
I can I
Go
just
on,
say
Irene.
very quickly, when my grandmother started teaching me mediumship when I was 5 years old, and she always, because of she had a deep faith as well, and she drummed it into me from day one. You're doing this with me. It's called spiritualism. We work for spirit. Spirit is God. And she slammed her hand down on the desk like this, and she says, "Don't you ever, ever disrespect God, the angels, or his family, because if you disrespect them, you will not be able to do what I am teaching you, because respect is both ways." And I've written one poem that I haven't actually read out to anybody, and I wrote it last year. And at the bottom of it, I'm saying, have respect, know your place. And basically, you know your place in this world, but doing religion and spiritualism, it can go together as long as you have respect for both.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely perfect.
Can I
I
just respond to? I keep talking. So, can I just respond to the quote that you just put up? I think it was from Michael actually about the.
that one.
Yes, yeah. Can I just air my views and thoughts on that in a public forum for once? Because the second coming happened already
Yeah.
2,000 years ago. He died. He came back. The harrowing of hell happened in between. The end of times happens for everyone at the end of their life.
Mm-hmm.
There will be no grand escalation up the stairs. There will be no mass exodus to heaven. There will be none left behind. They say, that some will go up and some will be left alone and they will be miserable. Yes, because when we lose someone we love, we are feeling left behind and we are feeling miserable. And that is the point. The second coming happened 2,000 years ago to prove that the life is eternal and that there is a world of spirit. The end of times happens to every single one of us at one point in our physical life. And it's the last point. and everyone else is left behind, and they do feel pretty cruddy. I know this from personal experience, as many of us do. And so, Michael, thank you for mentioning that, because
Yeah,
I think it needed saying.
yeah. Well, thank you, Suzanne. That it's what we're here for. It's what we're here for. Um, and there was another one I wanted to highlight as well, and I've lost it now. Don't you hate it when you can't find a comment that you wanted to see?
Yeah,
I,
oh, I know. And that's
I,
Oh,
still
never
I,
waiting.
mind.
I have found a poem. I didn't write it, but I wish I had done. But it wasn't obviously meant for me to write, and it's about that and about what you've just said about how we pass away and go here, there, and it's just called "Waiting in the Queue." And the way it's written, it's absolutely brilliant because it's saying it's no use running away. It's no use trying to move back or forward or to the side to let somebody else go in front. When it's your time, it is your time. And it's just,
I've heard the one that you're on about.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard that one.
it's it's a good one, isn't it, Jean?
Yeah, it is good. I've heard that one.
I think I've heard that one as well,
Yeah.
Mary. It's no. What's interesting is people knock Orthodox religions a lot, but I have to say I had a very positive experience when I was up in County Durham with the priest we had, and he was Church of England, and when he called people to the altar rail to take communion, he would say, if you have a relationship with God, come and take of the table. Not, oh, but if you haven't sinned, and it's if you have a good relationship with God. And that's what I think the the many houses for me means. I know it's like we're saying it means different things. It's each person has a very different relationship with God and Christ,
It's
and
Yeah.
true.
it's that relationship that's the home, because you go to your God and the relationship you had with God, which is why I distance myself from religion, and I'm saying religion deliberately here because I still had my faith and I still had my relationship with God, but I distanced myself from organized religion because they were preaching things about me personally by reading out various Bible passages and saying, "Oh, man shall not lie with man," da 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 da. And I thought, my God would never judge me because of who I fall in love with, or because of I had a row with Aunt Nellie, and we've fallen out, and I said mean things. It's all about finding that relationship and clinging on to it, and that's what I see this as being for me, because it's a way of me approaching people and helping them to become the best version of themselves that they can, and to have that relationship with the Great Spirit, and to understand that we're all spirit having this journey, and we should be working together to to achieve the best we can for the world, for each other.
I think the only thing with me, and as you know, I was fetched up strict Catholic until my mum passed away. And what really I liked as being a Catholic at the time, well, when I got to wear my little wedding dress, when you get confirmed, nobody
Oh
explains
yeah,
everything because you're really strict. And we had this beautiful little wedding dress on with this little halo type thing, and no angel, I never have been. But I wish they'd just explained a bit more. They drill it into you. They don't
Yeah.
talk to you and explain things. It's just, I'm sorry for, there's lots of Catholics out there. My family's still Catholic who lives away. It's just that I found this ways works better for me being a spiritualist. And that's why I'm going
yeah,
down this road. And it was only when my mum past. You can read my letter because Tony's read it, haven't you? My little
I have.
first
It's wonderful.
sermon. And and I just think that's the only thing why we got drilled into us. And I can remember running away, not going to my Catholic church, going on a minibus. God knows where we were going at the time, but it was to a Pentecostal church where it were upbeat, played drums, they sung songs, they had fun, and ours were so strict. And then when I got older and I went to it's true, but we didn't have that fun. It were
No.
different. And I'm like in my 60s now, so we're going back even now. They might be a bit lenient now. And then first time I did, I went to confession, and my dad took me, and he said, "Jean, you must have been in there over an hour. What on earth were you talking to him about?" He says, "Because you took that long." He says, "You must have told him everything from being born to now." But he was asking me things, and I was telling him, and I didn't know. And there were little silly things, but you know what I mean. And now, I think because I've come into Christian spiritualist, I think, come on, I'm not knocking Catholics because that's what I was for years. But it's so different how we see things to how we were taught to see things when we were little.
Yep.
But
Yep.
even within our religion, Jane, and I'm using it as spiritualism in the
Yeah.
broad brush sense rather than Christian spiritualism, which we are. How many churches have we been into where that one where they stood up for us as we walked up to the
Yeah.
rostrum, and it was like, what on earth?
Yeah.
It just,
You know, we don't want that.
and
But
no, that's when, if we walk into a church and we can have a laugh and it's upbeat, the messages just flow, and you can
Yeah.
feel that spirit link. And
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, Irene has said the same. I know she has, haven't you, love? Where
I have, darling. Yeah, many times.
if they're all, if the energy's down through the floor, it's
It's
such
hard to
hard
lift
work.
it. It's hard to lift it.
Evelyn, I'm not sure on that one. I'll refer that one to her.
Yes. So and the lion shall the lion shall lay down with the lamb. I always get confused on the terminology of this one. I will be perfectly honest. Why I always get them mixed up is because there's also it's used rather poorly actually in Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a prophecy. But yes, the lambs and the lions will lay together. Now, I actually addressed this without realizing a part of it, at least, a few weeks ago when we had. I don't know if any of you were watching. We had the most profound link in between the philosophy and the reading, and we're talking major freaky moment. And I'm always surprised by spirit. 10 years a minister, it always still gets me. There you go. Matthew's helped us out there, paraphrasing of Isaiah 11:16. But the thing for me that I got from that night was basically I was talking about angels and ended up mentioning that we spiritualists sometimes forget our own rules. Because I have heard spiritualists say, oh, they will burn in hell for that. And, oh, they will suffer eternal torment. And I'm thinking, is there not a principle of eternal progress open to every soul?
Yeah.
And we have to accept that. So, although it is a bit of a paraphrasing, yes, the lambs and the lions will lay together one day. Because the point is, that particular night, I was talking about how over the years and over history, the image of Lucy, brother of Michael and Gabriel, has got a bit of a bad rep, and quite likely not entirely justified. If you look at scripture, most of what people's understanding of that particular being comes from Milton's Paradise Lost, not actual scripture. There's no specific naming of names. In actual fact, Jesus is referred to as the morning star at one point as well. But I was talking about how the modern interpretation of that particular being's tale, as played by the lovely Tom Ellis.
Yes,
I
please.
know. Yes. That particular story of his eternal attempt to actually get the love of his dad back. You know, technically speaking, we spiritualists should accept that it is possible for him to get back to his family and to his dad. Because if we all have that right to go forward and go up and progress, then why not that being? And I felt very, very nervous about that particular piece of philosophy because I expected quite a huge backlash. But I did not get that backlash. Especially since Reverend Allen's poem was the story of the fallen angel looking up and wanting the love of his family back. And it was like, wow, Spirit, thank you. It was amazing. And that the point is, everyone has the right to progress and make good, but they have to want it. They have to earn it. They have to deserve it. We are not the judges of that. So we are giving up judge and jury status, and we are saying that those that we would not feel comfortable laying in the desert with can lay in the desert. That's a really difficult one. So for those that say, I mean, perfect example, your description of spiritualism, it is a really loose religion. It is a really easy to follow faith and way of life. But by no way is it, as somebody once said to me, it's a lazy religion. Because it's not. Because that particular principle is probably the hardest one ever. And I think potentially it can be the hardest religion to follow, the hardest way of life to follow, purely because of that. And I think Tony wants to say something about the 7 principles. Or in our case, 8.
Jacqueline. I just wanted to pick up Jacqueline's point. That is a good interpretation of it, Jacqueline. But the way I see that particular passage is 2 very disparate groups. Could be whoever. It could be the Catholics and the Protestants. It could be the homosexuals and the heterosexuals. It can be whoever. But it's just about there will come a point where differences can be laid aside and people can rub along and all be excellent to each other, to quote those 2 teenage boys who ran off in a phone box. It's just that's the point for me. It's a bit in the Bible that says, look, whoever you are, you can lay your differences aside and live in harmony together. 7 principles. I just realised we were talking about it as if people knew the principles, and perhaps people don't.
Yes.
If you go through the years, though, from the beginning of millennia, from when when Jesus first walked the earth, all those millions of years ago, there is 3 things that have come out of this lion and lamb scenario. The wars have always been about 3 things: greed, land, and religion. They are 3 main things. You know, I mean, you had the troubles in Ireland, you had Vietnam, and you've got Afghanistan, and it's just an absolutely crazy world that's at the moment. When is there going to be peace? Who knows? That's a $6 million question. But it's always about religion, greed, and land. I mean, they had apartheid in Africa, and it's all caused bloodshed and lives and wars where there's no need. If you just talk to each other properly and make sense out of what you're saying instead of sniping at each other all the time, we would be a far better people and society. And I think people would get on a lot better.
It's nice what
Well
Suzanne's just put, though.
Yes.
That she's put, we're all different.
Yeah.
Can you put it up,
But-
Tony?
And look at us, yeah. Yeah.
Look.
But
I quite
that's
agree,
what-
Suzanne. I quite agree.
But
We all get
when
on.
we started this, when we started coming on and just doing half an hour of readings, however many years ago, that's specifically what Michael and I talked about when I started doing it on my own. Was it's for anybody who wants to come on and watch
Yep.
and share a short period of time. And then Jean got involved, and then Irene came on. But we've always said it's open to anybody. I know certain churches that use Zoom because they want to restrict it and make sure nobody's going to be coming on and creating havoc. But by doing it like that, you're restricting it to people who need it, who need just to hear that maybe one word or a couple of words that are said in the service that hits home and makes them think, I am included, I am a part of, not other than, I'm included. And that's what we are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we go.
I have to admit, I've spent a lot of time over the last 6 to 12 months talking to progressive Christians, deconstructionists, and atheists. And I get on better in some respects with them than I do those of an absolute devout nature. And the reason is because of the respect and understanding and openness.
Can you put Miles up, Tony? Miles Jackson's up. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Absolutely.
Yep.
And I found that deconstruction has actually helped by identifying, and certainly progressive Christians use a lot of deconstruction to understand that they were right when they had their heart opened, and then it was closed a little bit by doctrine and dogma that was forced upon them. For example, I was talking today not only about Evelyn to one of my colleagues at work, but I was also talking about this very subject, this deconstructing ideas. This particular object right here on those of a male birth orientation, we call it an Adam's apple. And I'm told by some people that one of the reasons it's called that is because it's a nod to the fact that it's the piece of the apple that got stuck in Adam's throat when he ate apple from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And I love deconstructing that one.
How come only men have it then and not women?
Because
it's stuck in his throat.
Eve didn't bite the apple, Adam did.
But guess what?
Well, I might be a bit thick, I'm just asking.
It wasn't an apple. See, I'm turning northern now, and it's like it wasn't an apple. It wasn't an apple. It was a fig. Think about it. When they received the knowledge of good and evil and all knowledge, they realized that they were naked.
Yes.
And they covered themselves up. You will there you go, Michael. I knew he'd get that one. They grabbed the first thing that they could to cover up their nakedness. It was fig leaf.
Yeah. Fig leaf.
They weren't stood by an apple tree. They were stood by a fig tree. So that's deconstruction one. We are led to believe things that get used in common terms in popular culture for us to understand, and it just becomes so set in stone that we believe it. And we believe it without question. This is why I love spiritualism, because we question it. Now, the 7 principles that are used in modern spiritualism, we obviously have an addition of the 8th principle. Go on, Reverend Tony or Reverend Jean, do you want to share what the 8th one is? You've shared them, I
The
saw.
8th one
Is
yeah,
oh, go on.
the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's
We accept Jesus Christ as light of the
It's-
world, saviour and elder brother.
yeah.
Yeah.
They added something else in, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
added something else.
we keep that 8th principle because we also kept with liberty of interpretation. But even the attribution of the 7 principles of modern spiritualism to Emma Hardinge Britten and Robert Owen through Emma Hardinge Britten isn't entirely accurate, because Robert Owen and others did not give Emma Hardinge Britten 7 principles. They gave them 10.
10.
Yes.
The principles as prescribed by Emma Hardinge Britten equaled 10. And over time, those in positions of authority and control over those 10 principles simplified them down to 7.
Right.
Much like, and it's very similar. It's very similar because I'm not having a go. It was a process of simplification and division and making it fit nicer and easier into the mind. Just like what the SNU has done with the 7 principles on its website now, where they've simplified them even further. So rather than the fatherhood of God, it's God. I haven't read it so accurate that I know exactly, but you know, when they've simplified it down into just a couple of words, a simple phrase that's easier for people to understand. Now that is brilliant. However, there is always a danger of the detail being lost. For example, if I were to say to you that one of my principles is the communication of spirit and the ministry of angels, that's my principle, that the communication of spirits and the ministry of angels. So I'm saying that I believe in spirit communication, and I believe that the angels minister over us. They look after us, they give us guidance. If we were to then simplify that to communication and angels, which they haven't put, but if we were to simplify it to communication and angels, what does it actually mean now? So as much as simplification is good, we have a duty to be extremely careful that we don't oversimplify things and lose part of the message, because from the 10 to the 7, there was a lot of toing and froing. The majority of it is still there, but some has been lost. Some has been lost. Yes, I didn't expect that I would get so quite up myself, really. I thought I'd leave the soapbox downstairs, which is why I came up to the Boudoir Del Brown, but it appears that my shoes have got a soapbox, you know, tied to them. I can't help myself. When these guys set me on fire, I can't help but go for the jugular.
I'm not quite sure, Nick, but I'm sure that in the beginning there were actually 10 principles.
Yes, there was.
And the SNU
That's what he said.
gradually,
Yeah,
has
No,
gradually
that's what he's just been
got
saying.
them down, and
They've knocked them
you know,
down. I don't know.
Yeah.
One
Good
of the
night, Pam, by the
principles.
way.
Good night,
No,
Pam.
One of the principles I can't remember in SNU. We're talking about
And-
excuse me, but this
Sorry.
I can't remember which one it is. I don't know if it's the 6th where they've extended that one. I think it is. I can't remember what it is
Yes.
off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But they've extended it instead of
Yeah, absolutely. And in actual
put a couple of
fact,
the words in.
yeah, if we want to be absolutely technical, at that time it wasn't the SNU,
No, it
because it
wasn't.
wasn't the Spiritualist National Union; it was the Spiritualist National Federation at the time.
Yes,
So,
it was then. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
and I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that we should always be very wary. That if we start with 10, boil it down to 7, we should be aware of that fact. There's nothing wrong with the 7 principles. There's nothing wrong with the 8 principles. If you've got 5 principles or 6, I think Australia and America have 8 principles. Actually, no, I think America has 6. I'm not sure. I follow 7 and 8. I followed 7 for 15 years. I've followed 8 for the last 10. That's how and this is the
Canada
whole
7.
Canada has 7. I knew Matthew would chip in with that. But it's the whole theme of tonight. It doesn't matter what you believe so long as you believe it. It doesn't matter what you believe in so long as it doesn't harm anyone else. And this is why I've always held on to my witchy poo past. And it harm none, do as you will.
Yeah.
The witch's creed, and it harm done, do as you will. Evelyn, thank you. 7 in the USA. I'm sure that must be Australia that has 8 then. If there's anyone in Australia that can prove me wrong, please speak up. But yeah, it's the very Jen. Yes, your faith is your own.
I think there's 7 in
I
Australia,
like the book.
Nick. I'm not quite sure, but I think there's 7 in Australia as well. I'll check with the family, find out.
Yeah, I completely agree, Michael. It's a minimum set of standards. This is what you should do as a bare minimum, But I mean, for me, it's what you should be doing anyway. If you look at them, why aren't we just? Yeah. Anyway, there we go.
I think it can be summed up in something that I once, in my frustration, we definitely need Pop-Tarts, but not as much as God. And I think it was in my frustration, I just stood on the platform, and I was at one of those dark points in my life, and I was just absolutely exasperated, and I just stood there, and I said, the message of Spirit is simple. How can we not understand it? Just be bloody nice.
Yeah, humble and kind.
And that was one of the most commented on services I ever did, because I said, just be bloody nice. I think if you want to boil it down to any statement, that's as simple as it gets.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is.
And I know you've said this before publicly, Tony, and I know you've spoken about it too, Jean, in your studies, but I really am quite excited about where the society is going to go this year, speaking on an internal level, because it affects us as, individuals. And even though it affects everyone that's watching as well, because they take an interest in what we provide. So it will have an impact on their lives too. They might not notice it as much as we do, but I really hope that they do, because it means it's working,
Yes,
but things are taking a really, really interesting direction. The things that I've had said to me by mediums that have come into the churches, things that I've had, even given as a message passed on from services that I haven't been able to attend because I've been at work, and somebody's come up and said something. Thank you for that, by the way, everybody peeps. I do apologize for taking a slot to everyone who was watching that night. But personally, but also for the society, a lot's going to happen this year. And I've been talking to Reverend Allen. He started doing his trance work down in London. I'll be having a look at that. I have to finish my book, otherwise I'll get in trouble. And the growth. And do you know what? The interesting thing in this country, the new Christian Spiritualist Society is growing in the north. Where did Emma Hardinge Britten start off spiritualism in this country? In the north. The head office, the north. the Emma Hardinge Britain started it all off in Manchester. It used to be that Manchester had more churches than London. It was only because of tradition and silliness that everything moved down south. Spiritualism was very much a northerner's way of life. And I can see it creeping back up to help unite everyone, north and south. So, because I referenced it myself. You've got the north of England. I love the north. I live in the south of England. It's England. But not only is it England, it's the United Kingdom. Not only is it the United Kingdom, it's the continent of Europe. Not only is the continent of Europe, it's planet blooming Earth.
True.
And we need to recognise that. But these services that you do, that everybody does, unite planet Earth. The fact that we can sit here, and for us it's 2013, time, not year. I haven't suddenly lost 9 years. For us it's 2013. For Matt, I think it must be something like 13 minutes past 2, something like that in the afternoon. I think we can probably add an hour or 2 for the show, because I can't quite remember where the time zone sits. But it's definitely the afternoon for you to. There you go, 3:13. I was an hour out.
Oh yeah, we've moved the hour, haven't we? Yeah.
And my very, very, very good friend, Mr. Turner, who lives all the way in Israel. He's like a couple of hours ahead of us, and we can all be united, sitting in our living rooms or bedrooms, having a good old chin wag about it. There you go, Evelyn. I would say I was picking up on Evelyn. That's my
you are.
Up on
You
Evelyn. We can all be united, no matter what time of day it is for us personally, in our rooms, because of this wonderful technology that's getting some good usage, and being able to just sit here without, and going back to what you said at the beginning, what you said, Tony, what you said, Jean, what you inferred upon in your poem, Irene, is that without the formality, without the ritual, an easy conversation where we've gone from virtually one end. We've talked about Genesis, we've gone all the way to Revelations, and several smatterings in between, because quite a lot of what I was talking about tonight would either have been Isaiah or Job. It's all about Job in the end. A lot of people endured for one man's path to faith, and it's how we live our lives. But we've gone from one end of the Old Testament, from the Talmud, all the way to the questionable end of the New Testament in an hour and 15 minutes, in a way that everyone can take something from, can pick something from, can understand and take a new direction and a new way of thinking, as I saw someone say, but without it being forced on you as gospel, if you'll pardon the pun. You take from it what you want.
Yeah, that's
well
the
said.
thing. It's
said.
It's not about standing there in a pulpit and banging your fist and hellfire and brimstone. It's about, let's have a conversation. Let's just sit and talk. And it's something that Irene and Jean and myself have noticed a lot, that our services aren't prescriptive. We don't sit with an order of service per se.
No.
We open up with prayer, we have a poem, then we see where Spirit wants us to go. If they come forward with messages, they do. If they come forward with philosophy, like we've done tonight, and given messages through, like you said,
Well, they give message through philosophy.
They do.
You still give messages in a different way. Because
they do.
everybody from us can all take something out of what Nick's been saying.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we've all been
here we
saying
so
it's
we
just,
can take a message from that.
we do.
I mean,
just that little bit.
Go on, Irene.
Another one, Nick, is I wrote a poem last year. Well, it's obviously last year now, and as soon as Tony heard it, he said, "I love that. I really do love that." So I've gifted it to him for the Rainbow Project, and
Oh yes,
it's called "Don't Be Pretending."
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
and everybody knows that I'm trying to get a book out there. Well, thankfully, Stacey's helping me with that now, and we're getting to the stage where we're going to get it all edited up and that. I am going to be putting it in the book, but I've actually gifted it to Tony because it's all about don't be in love if you're not. Don't be straight if you're gay. You know, come out and it's just you'll have to ask Tony to
yeah.
show it to you
It,
next time you see him, or message or send it to
Well,
you.
I do believe that the Rainbow Project want another chat with me, don't they?
we do, yes, as soon as it's
Yes.
but that poem struck a chord with me for lots of reasons, though, Irene, and it's not just about
Yeah,
sexuality or gender
no,
or whatever. It's about becoming
it's
the
about
best
life.
version of you, and
Yeah,
that's my passion. It's to enable people to be the best they can.
Yeah.
yeah,
That doesn't
Yeah.
mean everybody should strive to be a rocket scientist, because that might not be your aptitude, but whatever it is you do it in the best way you can and become and
Yes.
grow into being the best. Growth, I think that's the word I was searching for there.
yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
enabling people to grow. And if we do that by talking crap to fertilize things, then
Yeah.
so be it. But just, I hope you
There's a message in
all,
there. There's all different messages in the words that I've written, because it's the
yeah,
same. Don't be bothered about the color of your skin, because the family who love you think you're beautiful inside and out. It's sort of little verses on sexuality and on skin color and being in love and not
mm,
in love, and this what we used to have a saying when I lived in London: if you want sex, you go up Soho; if you want to make love, you stay in bed. And that's but it's true. It's
Yeah.
true, because
it is.
it's only with that one person that you're with, that you choose to be partners with for life. If you love them, then that there's only that one person that can give you that love that you need.
Yeah.
So
I
you
believe
know
in that, Irene.
I know you
I
do, darling.
actually do believe in that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I
I'm
I
with you 100% because
believe
that's what I say to people.
it.
It is so true.
it is. I mean, I've been with my Ed 35 years. He's a natural.
42 year now.
He's an old natural, but I wouldn't swap him.
I won't swap mine.
No.
It's about, it's something that we're working on. Well, we're going to be working on, Claire and myself, for the Rainbow Project, and Michael. Um, we've just had funding to do a healthy relationships project through the Rainbow Project,
Oh, good.
and the first session that we are going to write is about the most important relationship you can have, and that's having a healthy and positive relationship with self. Because until you
Absolutely.
have that relationship with self, you, to quote Her Majesty RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are
Oh,
you going to
yeah.
love anybody else?
He's
Yeah.
got me
Absolutely.
hooked. He's got me hooked.
I
I've
have
never watched it. I've
I
never
hadn't.
watched
been
I
it.
hadn't until I went to Tony's caravan that a couple of days. Me and Tony went with Mike Magical.
binged it.
And oh God, we just watched one after other after other after other. And our Amy's always talked about it. She's talked to Tony about it. I'd never watched it and I got hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just
But it's,
fascinating.
and in terms of what you were saying, Irene, and you were saying, Jean, it's about having the relationship that works for you.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I,
absolutely.
I've got friends who are polyamorous, so they've got multiple partners and their partners are partners, and but that works for them. And it's
For them, that's what I
Yeah.
was just going to
Yeah,
say. If it works for them,
coming
Tony,
back
then there's
to,
nothing wrong with it.
now, to
There's nothing
quote
wrong
Nick
at all.
again,
It's individual. It's
I
individual, can
find
I say?
myself quoting Rev Brown a lot. It's about what works for you, and as long as you ain't hurting nobody else, doing no harm,
That's what I'm
off you
saying.
go.
It's individual.
Yeah,
It is what it's an
exactly.
individual thing. It's
It
what
is.
people
Yeah,
believe in them. It's
But
yeah.
and
I believe in what I am. I've been married with Stuart. I met Stuart at 16. We're still together. We're fortunate. We're still together for 42 years. I've been married, been with him 44 years.
but
But that's me.
what
It could have been a different
what
way.
what I really like is that the two big things in my life, my my church and the Rainbow Project, it's the same ethos throughout in
Mm.
both camps. It's about welcoming everybody with no, we say with no judgment. That's a falsehood, really, because you can't help it. It's human nature. You do judge people. You make
Yeah.
a snap judgment about them as they walk through the door, but it's about laying that to one side and accepting the person that walks through the door and welcoming them no matter what. And when we get our physical church, it'll be the same there. Anybody that walks through the door will be welcomed to come and
But
partake, and we'll
what have I
have
said to
the
you, Tony
communion
Anton? I've
services
been
and
honest. The job I've had, but I've always been honest when I come to Rainbow Project, and I always said to you, tell me if I've said something wrong, don't I? I don't want to upset anybody, so please tell me if I've not answered that right or said something, because I don't want to upset anybody. I'm not that kind of person. And Tony sometimes has, aren't you, Tony, just said,
yeah.
it's this. And I've asked because I don't want to upset nobody. And I've been in a job for years, where I have looked after people and gone down that. But I'm so grateful that when I go there now, I do feel part of the group. It's absolutely wonderful. They are lovely people. And Tony's guided me with some of the things what I might have done wrong. I might have got something wrong,
You
but
haven't.
Tony, I've asked
It's not.
Tony.
It's not. The difference is, and it's the same with faith, religion, gender, sexual, whatever. If people do misgender or whatever it is, it's about if it's done in genuine error, that's fine. If it's done with malice behind it, that's a different thing. And
No,
I'll
well, mine
take you
ain't,
down.
is it?
Can I respond? Could you bring up and can I respond to Jacqueline's
Yeah, we're just looking.
question? Because there is a commandment about not coveting another man's wife, also his
Correct.
ass, his garden, his neighbour, and anything else.
Yeah.
However, this is where we have problems in the modern world with religion. We apply our own understanding of life, the universe, and morality, just like we judge without realizing. We also apply our own understanding of the world to something that was written in a completely different world a completely long time ago. Because back then, they were allowed to have more than one. So that is why you can't covet another man's wife, but once you're married as a man, you can have as many wives as you want. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, and I'm glad that the balance has been redressed, because now a woman can have as many partners as she wants, especially in the polyamorous relationships, or just not get married, like me, get engaged and keep it that way. But yeah, I mean, we apply our understandings to things that have been written a long time ago.
Oh,
So there is, an hour later, another again. She's on an hour timer. She needs to put 10 pence in the meter a bit sooner. That's what it is.
exactly.
So you are right, Jacqueline. It is there, but we live in a completely different world, which is why there are so many problems with religion. Welcome back, darling, because
It's this
words that were
blooming
used
thing.
back then have different meanings now, including same-sex monogamous relationships. You know, we get, and I'm going to use a word that may be perceived as naughty, sodomy. We get that from Sodom and Gomorrah. However, that the reason Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed is because it was a place full of scummy people, not because they were gay. I mean, if you look at the whole story, it's an absolute travesty. These angels turn up to try and find just one decent person in the city of Sodom. They find a rabble of men wanting to have and know them forcibly. So they are saved, these angels, by a man who offers up his virgin daughters to the mob. What a wonderful specimen he was. If I'd have been sitting there, I'd have pushed the button myself. But that's another story. But we get the term sodomy from Sodom when it was just talking about a bunch of scumbags, you know.
Yeah.
And I know Michael's joking, but he's absolutely right. They didn't understand good foundations. They really. So
No.
yeah, I know you're not. I know you like to put humour into what you're saying, but absolutely right. They were dodgy builders. The people who created that society were the dodgy builders, and
Yeah, because
you
the
know,
foundations were completely wrong.
yes, absolutely, because they didn't
But
understand the simple policy of loving one another and being nice.
can I just go back to Jacqueline's point as well
Yes,
about coveting? And you said the wife, the ass, the gardens, the whatever. Also, I think something in that passage, Jacqueline, about jealousy and envy. And I think
Yeah.
that's another thing that that passage was trying
yeah,
to bring out, that commandment. It was
absolutely.
to say, don't be jealous of your neighbour, just get on with it. And, you know, like the four of us have been on screen tonight for an hour and a half now, and it's not been a battle for, well, who can say the most and who can
No,
get their roar in more. It's we all respond, and there's no ego, there's no we don't there's no jealousy, there's no nothing. It's just we get on with it. And I think
although I
that's
do
another
have to
thing that
say to everyone at home that he does have a button on his desk that's attached to these earphones, and if I do go on for long, he zaps me with electricity. You should know these things.
I know that because I've sat next to him.
yeah.
See,
But
with
no,
me,
I've
in
rubbed
all
his
honesty,
leg.
I agree with you, Tony. I totally agree.
I've rubbed his leg. I'll tell you
I
a
think
few
that's what
times.
that's about as well.
well,
And
jealousy and envy
Go
does
on.
not
absolutely,
exist in my world. If
No.
somebody has got something, you know, or they're just don't matter to me if you've got 50p, £50, £500, £50,000. I treat you all the same, and I don't get jealous of anybody. I'm not envious of
Why
anybody.
should
You've
we?
worked just as hard as what I have, so jealousy and envy is a curse. It is a devil. It really is, because it's
Mm.
dangerous, and it causes people to lose their lives. It's a terrible thing, jealousy and envy. It
yeah,
really
yeah.
is. Just my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah,
And I think we
I
all
agree.
do, and I think that's
Yeah.
why we get on so well. I would just like to say that I don't think God gets angry. I think he gets disappointed.
Yeah. I
Mm.
agree
I
with
think he
that.
gets disappointed.
Are you back?
The world has always been filled with people who are negative and nasty and grumpy and trying to take over other people's rights. But God
Yeah.
never gets angry. He gets really quite disappointed that we
Yeah.
haven't gotten past we haven't gotten past the fig tree. Really, we never have.
No. No.
We're still
Well,
embarrassed
that
by our nakedness, and we're still trying to figure out right from wrong.
Diane Elizabeth has
Yeah.
just said something like that, Nick. She's
That's
is he
why I was
sudden
I
sudden
was kind
now?
of yeah
Right. Yeah.
yeah yeah
Because
yeah
yeah, it's hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard. It is hard. I had to respond to that because I don't believe God gets angry. You know,
No.
as a I'm not a parent, but I've seen my parents. They never got angry with me. They always looked very disapprovingly and disappointed.
Just
and
give
that's
you the
that
look.
correct. Yeah, it's that look of
Yeah.
really. Is he talking about his lamps again being bright red? Um, and I know there's a lot of coveting and nakedness regarding Matthew Stapley going on in the comments right now. I'm trying to keep
Yes,
my eyes on
down,
you
Michael.
guys' eyes. I'm looking you in the eyes right
Everybody
here.
thinks same about Matthew Staples.
Absolutely. But I mean, isn't it interesting that what Tony, I think a combination of all three of you inspired me to remember this. Yes, it was when you guys were talking. You were talking about, what was it? Greed. And you were mentioning 7 deadly sins. It started with the 10 commandments. We then get the 7 deadly sins listed. We started with 10 principles that got boiled down to 7. We admittedly added another one. But I always feel that if you took the 7 deadly sins, you could flip it like we do. And perhaps that's something. There you go. Perhaps that's a project for one of your students, Tony.
Hang on a minute, I've already got a lot in.
I know, but
You can't start. Excuse me, you can't just add in little things in now.
Who says I can't?
I started signing up to them. So
Show me where it's written.
Jane is
Show me
pulling
where-
rank.
Go
Duck,
on,
he's an
Nicola,
archbishop now, so he's pulling rank.
No,
I'll
I just thought
slap his
we
bum.
as a
I'm older than him.
Oh,
kinky bitch. I think we could do an opposite of the 7 deadly sins and focus on the positives.
what?
We need
No,
the
so
positives.
We need the so let's take the 7 deadly sins, look at what the opposites of each of those
Could
are
be.
and could be, and then create the 7 wondrous gifts.
Well, we're
Something
for. I've got that. We're for.
You're talking about looking for positives.
We'll make Matthew number 5.
Oh yeah.
I said Danny was taking Claire out for a meal.
Yes.
It's proposed.
Oh, wow.
Well, obviously she said yes. She's got ring on.
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful?
Gorgeous.
Oh,
I love her ring. It's
oh dear.
beautiful.
Did
Oh,
you
that's
see
something nice.
Stace's suggestion for a fundraiser?
Yes, and I've seen the follow-ups from a few people as well. I will not be dancing with 7 veils, and
Oh, don't be Mardy.
And no. It's a public service. There is no camera that would survive that kind of experience.
Well, can't we have a private showing?
No.
No.
And to quote the great prophet,
I've tried.
of gimme, gimme, gimme,
Oh, I
you can
watched that
keep
last
your
night.
hands off because this belongs to Jesus.
It was on last night. Gimme, gimme. Or night before.
Oh, dear.
I hand off to all of those people that do
absolutely.
that Full Monty for cancer and stuff on TV with
that was
Ashley Banjo.
brilliant. That.
Absolutely brilliant.
I couldn't. I mean, I'm not shy. I'm not a shy person. Jean's waxed me in places that, my mother hasn't
And
seen for
Tony's
years.
seen bits of me what my husband hasn't seen for years.
But I couldn't do that in public. So, no, I'm sorry. There won't be a Full Monty calendar for...
I don't know if I could. No. I think I could if I covered some things up. I couldn't go full.
But anyway...
I'd need a really big jug. A really big jug.
I could be the photographer if that's helped. We could do it in private.
No.
In order to support Tony, what I will say is that usually when a service mother, you will be in trouble. The most you guys are getting is my rainbow tutu, and that's it. I've done that already, and that's it. But what I always say is that when things are coming to a natural end because you go back to where you started. And not only did we do philosophically, but we also have in the kind of tone of conversation of which we start. So I think it's important that I now put it back to where it should be, in
Yeah.
a nice deep red. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slutty red.
Right. Okay.
But
Yes.
thank you,
Ball Street did a
Nick. It's
calendar,
been,
a topless calendar. Ball Street.
did they?
Yeah, brilliant. Lovely
Mm.
calendar.
DMA. That's one I won't want to see. But
See, I've
thank you,
even got a
Nick, so much
producer.
for coming
Stacey
on.
wants to be produced. I'll take the count, and Stacey will do the producing. You see, so
It ain't happening. It ain't happening.
Gene will do the
But-
changes, clothes changes, won't you, Gene?
Yeah. I'll tell them what to wear.
It's been an absolutely inspirational. It's been wonderful. Thank you
It's been
so much,
wonderful.
everybody.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you,
been
Nick.
wonderful.
I've really enjoyed it.
And thank
Yes,
you,
I
Nick,
have.
Thank you for
the-
having me. It's been a pleasure.
for the philosophy.
It's always a pleasure
Wonderful.
when
You're
you're on,
welcome
Nick. The same as
anytime
when
you're free.
Same as when Matthew's on. It's always a pleasure to have you on and Matthew on.
Well,
know,
I
'cause-
try my best.
Yeah,
Diane,
you lift the spiritual guides. You do really the vibrations.
what do you mean you're being ignored, Diane? I've not seen anybody ignoring you, sweetheart.
Oh, bless. Oh, what's she
Oh.
put? Why
I
have we
think-
ignored
It's
her?
just for being ignored because you don't like the truth.
I think
I think it was a
about
bit
being
that
angry.
God was angry.
oh, about being angry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
about God
yeah.
being
No,
angry.
Look. I didn't actually see. I've just gone back and literally.
Oh, sorry, we're
I
not
hadn't
ignoring
seen
you.
You
any.
have been and it's all a conversation about this blessed calendar that's moving everything way too fast. So hang on, let me. I believe what. Absolutely, you've got every right to believe what you believe, and I'm sure that there
Can
is
you
an
put it up,
element in.
Tony?
Um,
Can you find it and put it
Trying to
up?
find the bits that you're talking about.
you're absolutely right to believe what you believe, and no one can ever take that away. That's how we actually started this genuinely conversation. Right, that was I didn't see
Right.
it. Yeah, I mean, you can show anger, but I think what I was trying to point out is that I don't think God would ever express his anger to us. The covenant with Noah, for example, I will never again cause the water to destroy the earth, because we were talking on the subject of the book of Revelations, and we were talking around the subject of the end of the world kind of thing. That was kind of like the direction I was going. I'd like to believe that the God that I follow shows disappointment rather than anger, but it's how that disappointment is reflected.
And I
It
don't
could
think
very
in
well
this
be
particular
interpreted by
instance,
others as anger.
when God led Jesus to the Mount, to the crucifixion, I don't see that as anger. I think that was him, because he said Christ was given to save mankind. That's not an angry thing to do in that instance. It's the ultimate sacrifice by God to sacrifice his son on the cross. And I don't think you would do that in anger. I think you would do that in desperation to try and help mankind to see the light.
Yeah,
And like Nick said, that was then the second coming when Christ, and like somebody said in the comments, I hadn't thought of it in that sense, that that was Christ coming again when he
yeah.
rose from
I
the
had an
dead.
horrible childhood, and while I have
No,
God, we'll all be there for you,
Yeah,
sweetheart. I know.
it's
yeah, and absolutely, and I think that when we talk about things, and I think that when we use particular terms, there is always a risk of that old song, potato, potato, tomato, tomato. What I perceive
yeah,
as disappointment could easily be perceived as anger.
Yeah.
It's how
yes,
that is
definitely.
expressed. And
And I
we
think
get that in scripture with all the different words that have been mistranslated over the years and
precisely,
popped in and dropped in. which is where I was going with Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I completely got that. And I think also, if you think about when I first went to church, young boy, it was delivered as banging the desk and
yeah,
hellfire and brimstone. And
Mm.
it's, again, it's about the reflection of how you present your philosophy, your address,
yes,
your Sunday sermon. And if you deliver it as hellfire and brimstone, it comes across that God, excuse my French, God's pissed off all of the time. And he
yes,
isn't. It
yeah,
it's mankind that wrote the Old Testament, and the God of the Old Testament is a very hellfire and brimstone type person,
yes,
spirit, being. And
entity.
you've just got to think about when these things were written, and people of that time were trying to control things and get on top of things. And yeah, it's I'm really sorry I didn't pick that comment up. I hadn't seen it go up, like you said.
Yeah, no,
The
definitely.
nakedness of Matthew Stickley and Reverend Nick Brown was getting people all hot and bothered.
I
But
can't see how I could ever get anyone hot and bothered myself, but there you go. Um,
you'd be
So
surprised when
sorry though,
people talk
Diane, if
about
that's
Matthew
how you felt,
Stickley.
yeah,
sweetheart.
You
if we ever miss you, Diane, just say, "Oi, stop ignoring me. I'm
Yeah,
here. Look up, look up, look
don't
up."
feel awful
Um,
or anything.
gonna
and the
say,
other thing,
always share it again.
Diane, if or anybody on there, if you want to talk more about this type of thing, then please get in touch with us, because even if you don't want to do it on another service like this, we will always talk to you about things you've got on your mind. This is why Nick was invited to the Rainbow Project, because quite a few of the people that went to the Rainbow Project started following my live feeds and saw me get ordained and said, hang on a minute, how come we get excluded from Orthodox religions? Come on, Reverend Nick, and tell us all about it.
And
That's how it is. We
wasn't
will
wasn't
always.
that night when there was a big old to do with a certain ex former president or something as well? Because I
Yes,
ended up thinking
yes.
about that.
That was the
Um,
storming of the,
the
yeah,
storming of the
Capitol.
Capitol.
Was that
And I
night.
would just like to say, Evelyn, yes, I do love myself, but I also know my limits, socially and
Mhm.
otherwise.
But yeah, we're always happy to answer questions, to talk to people
Yeah.
more on a one-to-one basis, as a group, whatever. Please talk to us. That's what we're here for. If
Yeah,
you're
and
Absolutely.
feeling a
in
little
actual
bit,
fact, Diane, we have been on Facebook as friends for absolutely years. I've seen your name popping up over and 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 over again, and I always look forward to your comments. And don't think that disagreeing is a bad thing. We are all humans growing and learning and progressing, and I certainly don't believe I know everything. I certainly don't believe that everything I say is 100% right. And only by challenging us and only by questioning us do we learn as much as anyone else can learn from what we have to say. And so I would never ignore anybody for challenge me. In actual fact, I prefer people to challenge me because
mm,
it's so much more development for myself as much as anybody else. Um, and it ties in with something that you said earlier, Tony, and it is a final Babylon quote. And it goes back to the polygamy, actually. There was a character on Babylon 5 called Londo. He had 3 wives, and he had a special day. And he said that the emperor remembered. So he was given a gift. And he said the gift was any one wish that was in the emperor's power to grant. So the wives sat there and said, "Oh, and what is that, my darling?" And he said, "A divorce." However, the emperor, in his wisdom, said that I should keep one of you to be part of the ceremony and ritual and just be a married man. So by the time you leave here, I will choose one of you to remain my wife. The others will be gone. One was really, really super sexy, but scheming. One was really political and extremely scheming. The other one was an absolute vile sod to him. He chose the absolute vile sod because when he'd chosen her, when he said, "You're the one that I want to keep," she said, "Londo, I'll never love you. I have never loved you. At best, I'll tolerate you. Why did you choose me?" And his response was this: "Because with you, I will always know where I stand."
There you go.
So
There you go.
never
And here ended the
apologize.
lesson.
Oh, don't
You've no need to be
apologise.
sorry. You
Never
don't have to be
apologise.
sorry.
No, don't
Because that
apologise,
last
sweetheart.
little bit of information, that last little bit of conversation that we've had could be picked up by yourself, by hundreds of people in the future. 2,000 years, this video might still exist in some library, and some student of spiritualism might suddenly land upon this, and it will be very interesting for them. It will be very interesting for them, and it's been helpful for me. It's been helpful for me.
Tonight has been a really good night for me because it's made me start to think about things again through, and it's always a good thing to be challenged, to push, and to rethink things and look at things from a different perspective, which is what we're here for. Please keep in touch with us. Don't ever feel like you're on your own. Always drop a message. Somebody will answer you and get back to you. So, again, thank you for a wonderful, wonderful night. It's been brilliant. I am so pleased you've all joined in, had conversation, been silly about calendars and things. And yes,
And
Anne-Marie,
be still
you're
my beating heart over Matthew.
yes. Yes, Anne-Marie is the funeral director. I've no doubt if you've got questions around that sort of thing, Anne-Marie would be very happy to talk to you about that type of thing as well. She came on and did a talk for us. It was really interesting. Can anyone tell me, please, a more up-to-date Bible?
Yeah, but that's good
Yes,
what Reverend Lynn told me to get,
The
Tony.
amplified, the
The
amplified.
the amplified Bible is good. There is another one. There is another
Well,
one,
I've got that one
and
because Reverend Lynn
I
said get that one.
will post a picture of it. It's I will share with you everyone later on in the comments the exact one of it is. It's a retranslation. The Amplified Bible is brilliant because it explains everything. It's the NIV is pretty good too, to be fair. I can
Yeah,
never
the
remember
NIV
all
is
these
good.
bloody letters all over the place. It drives me nuts. But yeah, the Amplified's good because rather than taking thou and thy and thee, it has in brackets the expanded. That's why they call it the Amplified version. It amplifies the text. It gives a more
Yeah,
modern understanding to it. If you're looking for translation, this one that I've got downstairs is absolutely brilliant. I think it's the NRV, the new revised version. But I
yeah.
will send the picture on the comments after.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
And it's only 20 quid from Amazon.
Fabulous.
I would take quid from Amazon.
Anyway, who would like to do a closing prayer? Irene,
Wouldn't
Nick?
it, Nick?
I was going to
Nick?
see if Reverend Nick would like to close in prayer.
Let's go up that mountain then, shall we, friends? Let's join together as we say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother God, we thank you for the opportunity to come together as friends, to unite under your banner of love and hope and friendship, and witness the proof and the truth that life is indeed eternal. by those wonderful words of wisdom guided by you in the spirit realms through your ministers of light and your messengers of hope and our friends and relatives and loved ones and guides who work all in the name of light. We thank them for stepping forward, guiding the conversations both here and in all of the homes of all of the people that have watched and will watch. We ask that you continue to watch over us, Great Spirit, to guide our hand and our feet by shining a light on whatever path it is that we take. And of course, those paths do take us to some tumultuous places, Great Spirit. And when they do, we ask that you do not move the mountain. Just give us the strength to climb. Until we meet again, as ever and always, in your name. Amen.
Amen. Shall I do my night song?
Go
Yes,
on then, do
please
the
do.
night song.
Lord, keep us safe this night, secure from all our fears. May angels guard us while we sleep, till morning light appears. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. God bless you, everybody, until we meet again. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Speak to you
night. God
later.
bless.
Bye.